It's showtime. Just gonna do my normal thing here, check and make sure everything's working good over on Rumble and Odyssey. And might as well even check out the old Twitter feed, I guess. I'm supposed to be live streaming on Twitter. I was gonna do one of those April Fool's Day thing, but I figured, people already get enough fucking shit thrown their way, right? Gaslighting and all that stuff. So I was like, I will hold off on that. Like I said, I'm just all you folks get the notification. You say check on things here, make sure everything's going good. Oh, better mute that. Better mute that. Okay, let's check out the old Rumble. The old Rumble. What's going on? I'm telling you, I'm freaking amazed. But I mean, of course, it was to be expected at some point in time. But yeah, I get more views now on Rumble than I do on YouTube. And boy, there's times where I think, geez, do I really even need YouTube anymore? But here's the problem. Here's the problem, right? And this is where I think it's so infuriating, and even in terms of like for people like Stefan Molyneux, the library that man had up on YouTube. I mean, now, oh yeah, just check. Yeah, everything's good over on the on Rumble. I just think of it used to be so easy, and I took advantage of the fact that I could just go over there, on YouTube, because on his actual on his website, free domain, you can get it in podcast and form stuff, but with the YouTube, you had I'm a visual kind of guy too, right? Like I like listening, don't get me wrong, and if there's times where I just can't be watching a video, I'll listen long, right? And I do that plenty of times to this day, and I will continue going forward. But I'm a visual kind of person. I like to look for some reason. I like to watch, things. So it's frustrating. Like even now, I'm going back through because I'm subscribed to Stefan on Locals. I pay that monthly fee over there, so I get access to his content. And he did upload, like, it's a 20-part series over on Locals back. And I remember actually watching those videos, and I think he did them, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure I do. It was when he was actually in his car commuting to work that he first started doing those, like an introduction to philosophy, going through all of the great philosophers in history. And I'm back again. I think I'm on part 3 or 4 now of that series. But man, it was so nice to be able to watch those things on YouTube, right? It really was. Now I do have free domain I even have that app on, when I'm out and about kind of thing. So I can get his material when I want to. So I am grateful of that, but man, it's nice. But that's the same thing with me with my YouTube. I mean, it's still a monetized channel, but I don't monetize my videos. So, I don't even really do any standalone videos, because when you do those standalone videos, you have to check off so many boxes of things that you're not allowed to say, right? And it's like and I usually fit within those. I did as best I could, but it's just gotten worse over the years, to the point where it's like to me, it's just more bother than it's worth for the most part, which kind of sucks. Is like I say, I'm still a monetized channel, and all my videos at the very least are still uploaded on the platform. So at least for now, you folks, if you do want to watch any of my content, although I will admit the early stuff, even when I go back and look at it, it's like, you were quite the novice, quite the noob. I mean, I still am to a degree in comparison to some people, right? But I've definitely come a long way since then, or at least to me, it seems like I have. But it is nice to be able to, for me in particular, have that library of things. So like if something comes up and I'll think, oh yeah, I covered that in a past video, and then I just got to search through my library, right? Of past videos and live streams, and I can find that. And then because I always uploaded and linked all the sources, then I can find that source material again. So it's really, really great for someone like me to have all that, and for you folks too. So like I say, even if you don't necessarily want to watch my videos or live stream to watch me, at the very least, you folks know, if you search on my channel, you can usually find source material for stuff that you need to push back against, the establishment media, or to point out, yeah, you see, that's not what you said then, right? So, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But it is disheartening, a little bit soul crushing to know that, yeah, I spent so many years, but then again, it's not just me, so many others too, right? Spent so many years building up a presence and putting so many, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of my time into doing that. And at this point, for basically very little to no return. And I'm not even talking about economics wise. At this point, the money part of it's, yeah. But I know how it makes money. That's the other thing too. People like, it's not that I don't know how to make money nowadays. Like, I know how I could get those views, but it means I sell my soul. It means I no longer take the principled stance or positions and just use normal headlines, or I mean, not headlines, but you know, basically the topic, subject matter of my videos. I know you could put clickbait thing, but I just feel weird. I got to tell you, folks, but I see a lot of people there, and I get it. I've noticed this a while. People really are gluttons for punishment. I've been that way myself in the past. It's a strange thing with us humans, I admit, but I would feel weird, even though I know it would actually probably generate more success, more clicks, if I did those stuff, because I see other people who are doing it and they are getting attention. But I don't know, folks. I don't know. Even if I was the best looking guy on the planet, being a male whore could net you some money too, but I still wouldn't want to do it. It's just, I don't know, I am who I am. So I guess I kind of do proverbially shoot myself in the own foot, but it doesn't help that there's lots of those out there that are more than willing to hand me the gun. Anyways, like I say, forget about that. Just going to um, start off here first and foremost, because like I say, what are we 7 minutes in? So it is what it is. If there's some folks that join the stream, there's some folks that join the stream. If not, hey, maybe two or three people will see it later on. Anyways, so let me just start into this first article that I wanted to cover. Actually, no, let me do this one first. This is someone that replied. I'd have to put the old glasses on with it for this one. Yeah, I think I might have to put the old glasses on for this one. Okay, take a little sip here, folks. So this was a reply. Actually, that's the other thing. Actually, I should make sure. Why democracy, it was called. Why democracy? So this person had replied, basically to talk about democracy. So let me just read it there for you, folks. Actually, let me bring it right up on the screen. Wow, it's everything. Can I join? You sure can, Stuart. Yes, that would actually be great. That would be great. You want me to send you a link? Just trying to think. Where do I normally, Stuart? It's been quite a while since we've had any communication. So, Stuart, where would it be? Facebook? Facebook? I'm going to go check right now, Stuart. Just give me one sec. How we've communicated in the past. Yeah, actually, if you could put that, how we've communicated, or at least somehow, yeah, so I know where to send the link. Let me just check here real quick. Boy, a lot of people I've talked to over the years, huh? A lot of people. Lots and lots and lots of people. David Burbaum. I saw him on with Tim Mullen the other day. Good to see he's back and around. Shit, where is that? Where? I'm having a tough time figuring out. Usually it's Facebook. Stuart Passmore, Stuart, or would it have been on Twitter? Let me check the Twitter. If you could just answer real quick there, Stuart, in a subsequent reply, I'll send you a notification here. Let me just check. Let me go to my messages. on Twitter, perhaps. Actually, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm doing this, and yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to put this up on the screen. Just want to double check here. One sec here. Um, wow, a lot of people, a lot of people. Sometimes I surprise myself at just how many people I've talked to over the years. But no, it doesn't look like it was over on Twitter. Nope. Let's go back to the Facebook again. Wonder if can I just search? Hmm. Holy jumping. Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a way for me to just search. Or it might have been on my Canadian Libertarian, not my personal page, but on here. So let me go to inbox. Just one sec. Sorry about that, folks. Stewart. Damn, no results. Huh. Hmm. Yeah, well, that's a bit of a bummer. Let me check on StreamYard and see if you let Stuart Passmore. Well, that's the thing. I got to be able to look up. Can I join stream today? Look up. That's the thing. I need to be able to send the link somewhere, Stuart. So I need to know where to send the link for you to join. Because yeah, you most certainly can join the stream today. Not a problem at all. It's just that I have to know where I can send that link, and I'm not sure. I wonder Minds maybe? No, I know. Not typical. Let me try my Gmail account. Let's try. Can I search Stewart? Oh, wait. I think I got you. I got you, Stewart. I got you, man. Okay. Okay. So I got you. I'm going to send you a link here now. Invite. Bada bing. Bada boom. I'm going to send it to you now there, Stewart. One sec, my friend. Okay. Now, compose. Okay. Join me. Okay. Paste. Send. Message sent. All right. I think it's gone. Let me just check here. Send. Join. Yep. Okay. It looks like it went there, Stuart. So, yeah, for sure you can join me. And as soon as you get that link, I'll bring you on in. Give Barry Prince a call to get on his show. You have his contact info as I sent it to you a while ago. Barry Prince. Man, that name even sounds familiar. That name's to have to get on his show. Okay. Well, yeah, I could definitely check that for sure. Thanks for bringing that up there, Canadian Patriot. Really appreciate that. So, anyways, while we're waiting for Stuart to join us, I should get notified, anyways. So let me just go back to the old inbox there just to make sure. Like I said, let me get back to this thing that I was going to read for you folks. So I'll bring it right up on the screen. Present, share screen. Bada bing, bada boom. There. I think you folks. Yeah, I can do custom layouts now. I just noticed that before I was going live here. Click for more layouts or manage them from settings, but I just didn't get a chance to play around with it before. But yeah, StreamYard is coming up with some pretty cool features for sure. Anyways, let me just show you folks. Make sure. Actually, let me just make sure. Yeah, because I don't want the things to be flashing in my eyes here. So, anyways, let me just read this for you folks. Let's say you're on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with 30 other people. The vessel is a simple lifeboat that happens to have sails from a large ocean liner which is sunk. In fact, you're the last human survivors of a biblical catastrophe that has befallen the world. You're all ordinary, random, middle class people who were on a cruise when the global disaster struck. No one is coming to your aid. There are, of course, very limited supplies on the boat, and no one is an expert sailor. You have to somehow find a way to get to land, and this is going to take a very long time. In the meantime, you have to figure out how to survive the journey. Many critical decisions have to be made right away. First of all, of course, concerning navigation and the operation and maintenance of the boat and its gear, but also how to share and use the available food and supplies on board, how to catch fish, which will certainly be necessary, how to collect rainwater, how to protect yourselves from the hot sun and the elements, etc. And naturally, the group has to maintain peace as well as some kind of discipline among themselves, or else infighting and productive behavior will swiftly bring the trek to its demise. So we're all familiar with these examples, right? Where people paint out these scenarios, and I'm sure I've probably even been guilty of this in the past as well, right? But anyways, let's just go with it. So you're hearing the scenario. So basically, a bunch of folks that are stranded on a basically a life raft kind of deal, and you're floating out in the middle of the ocean kind of thing, and as you can see that these so far, anyways, what's being said is making sense. But anyways, let me continue on. Who will decide all these things? How will they be decided? If no process at all is established by the group as a whole, the strongest, most ruthless individuals will certainly take over and run the boat for their own selfish benefit without regard for the well-being or even the survival of the rest. So, so right away, you're automatically setting up the scenario where this is the thing for people like this, right? So, but they're promoting democracy. Remember, this is a person. I should have showed the picture. Why democracy? So this is a person that's a fan of democracy, right? So he's asking, or she, whatever, he or she is asking, who will decide that and how will they be decided? And if there's no process established by a group as a whole, the strongest, most ruthless individuals will certainly take over and run the boat for their own selfish benefit without regard. Well, first of all, that may very well be the case if that person, that's on the boat, one of the strongest people. But once again, that one person, based on the fact that you have multiples of people, are now outnumbered. So you can be strong, but what are the tools? I didn't hear that this person has guns or knives, right? Pretty minimal in terms of the things that so far has been described there. So what? It's just a person, one person, and even if he's stronger, you're talking about in comparison, in contrast to what? A whole bunch of other people. So the individual or the group, nobody in that situation can actually suggest that they have, under this scenario anyways, have this ability to be dominant, and that everyone in that vessel would recognize that fact, right? Especially if they want to live themselves, because that's the thing. People, they don't have to be good, right? But they do, at the very least, at the very least, bare minimum, acknowledge that all humans have rational self-interest, right? They're not suicidal. Well, I mean, if this person didn't have a rational self-interest and was suicidal, he wouldn't even be bothered wasting time, because his life wouldn't be meaningful or worthy of anything, right? The one strong person. So already it's kind of a strange setup, but you kind of get how the person's kind of going with this, right? Anyways, let me continue on just a little bit more. Actually, make sure Stuart's not back down there, just to make sure. Normally, if someone comes in to come onto the stream, I usually hear a little beep so I can let them in. But anyways, let me just continue on here. Things will get selfish benefit with it. Okay, things will get ugly, if not murderous, very quickly. So that's automatically. You're automatic. I mean, murderous. murderous, right? I mean, that, to me, already you're setting up a scenario where why? Why do you suspect that would be the case? That's not the first thing that I would derive or logically deduce under that scenario. So it's strange that you would set that up as if that was the potential, right? And you're talking about 30 other people. It said, because you remember, you're on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with 30 other people. So, like I say, 29 people against the one, right? You're already setting up a scenario where the strong person is already massively outnumbered by the mob. So I don't know why you're kind of, but anyways, okay. Um, Someone proposes that major questions be discussed among all the boat occupants and decided upon by majority vote. First of all, there are some things that you might want to be determined by majority vote, right? You know, hey, we would all kind of like to maybe all be relatively close with each other so we can watch over each other, protect each other. I don't know, whatever, maybe like that. And it's like, so should we pick over here on the island, right? Rather than be all so too far segregated apart where we might be able to get attacked by local animals or like, say there's predators or something, right? Actually, wait now. We're still on a boat, are we? Here, wait now. Oh yeah, so you're still on the boat here. So first of all, okay, things will be ugly if not. Someone proposes that major question be discussed among. Okay, everyone will be free to express their opinion, and all views will be respectfully considered. This way, those who seem most intelligent, knowledgeable, honest, and caring will become the natural leaders. Yet they will not be able to unilaterally impose their will onto others. The agreement of most of the boat's passengers will be required. Most of the group members endorse this as the fairest, most rational way to go, as well as the best chance for the group's survival. I mean, that actually, that actually makes total sense, right? Not unilaterally impose their will on them. Needless to say, there are many differences between this simple hypothetical scenario and the real world, but in the most elemental sense, there is a common dynamic. People have to live, work, and control themselves together in an effective and relatively amicable manner while employing the most suitable political machinery available if the human endeavor is to endure or succeed. So, first of all, this is, I wish the person had actually taken a little bit more time to play that out a little bit more, right? To paint a better picture, because they didn't even get off the boat at this point done. But let's just say we're still on the boat. And let's say the majority decided, you know what, we got no food left. And we hear that humans are actually quite tasty and can fill your calorie needs, right? Well, does the majority get to determine that, hey, Frank, oh, look, he's got a lot of fat on him. He got a lot of meat on his bones. Hey, I think we should all eat Frank, right? Is this person suggesting that, as long as the majority, right? What, 16 out of the 30, right? As long as, half plus one, right? The majority decides that, hey, Frank, yeah, we're going to eat Frank. He's going to feed us and sustain us for the next week or so. It's like, well, no. There's this little thing called ethics, right? That's the crazy part is when these people, I mean, this person obviously acknowledging right away that there has to be, you can't unilaterally impose their will on others. So once again, where does that scenario of democracy even make sense? Why even talk about democracy? Because democracy is majority rule, right? It's majority rule. And then I don't know, even if you play that scenario out, how many times have we seen, but we'll write on there that we'll come to an agreement that majority rule, but that's the thing. But what do they get to vote on? Right? Nothing. It's actually, to me, I really wish that this person had taken a little bit more time to think about this more deeply, because once again, I could push back against, but I don't even have enough of a picture painted in my mind to actually think about, what this person said. But I will just at the very least, off the top of my head, point out that, yeah, majority rule, it doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't mean a damn thing to me, right? Just because a majority or a mob says that they want to do something, that's never been the basis for what guides my decisions, right? No, no, not when especially not when you're talking about anything that has to do with other people, right? I respect people's sovereignty, and that's really what it is. Comes down to it at the end of the day. Democracy does not respect the sovereignty of the individual. Democracy, just like all other collectivist regimes, the thing people think that democracy is somehow superior in some way, but in reality, it's not. Right? What do collectivist regimes, whether they're socialists, communists, fascists, um, Nazis, right? All that. What do? They'll sacrifice the individual for their concept of the greater good. Well, is that not what democracy does too? To me, it's a sleight of hand, to be honest with you. And that's the thing with people. They're raised and educated to believe in some things that, once again, once you become an adult or take the time to think about these things, like I have, or like many of you folks have, is none of it makes any sense. You just dig below the surface just a little bit, and you'll see it's like none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. Why? What makes you think that the mob, right? Because that's the other thing too, in terms of when you're talking about intelligence. Let's just use intelligence. Are the majority of people intelligent? Or when you go to a test at any time in your life, and you know this to be true, all of us, when you've sat down for any kind of test or anything in terms of the test levels of competency or knowledge, you'll know that you've never seen the scenario, if it's actually, graded properly, right, based on actual competence, if the answers are actually correct, right, objectively so, then you know that it's usually a very tiny minority are the ones that are the brainiacs, right? And a whole lot of other people that finish much, much lower. So majority in most aspects actually is the opposite of coming to the right or the ethical or the principled stance, right? It's that groupthink. It's that tribalist mentality. It's that race to the lowest common denominator. That is not, think about it. When people promote democracy, like I say, next time you decide to do anything, even something minute in terms of picking out what you're going to get at the grocery store, well, bring along, right? And this is just something like in terms of getting your groceries. You'll still be fed, you'll still get your calories, but would you allow the majority to pick and decide what you're allowed to eat? Would you do that in any other area or aspect of your life? Allow people to think about it. But that's the thing. But people will automatically, that's how fucking bad people's brains are messed up and indoctrinated into the cult of statism, that they will grow into full-grown adults and reject all this common sense, all this logic, all this reasoning, and think that a democracy, right? Mob rule, like as if that's anything to praise, applaud. To me, I find it absolutely stunning that people still play these kinds of games, especially in the age of information. Historically, maybe, but now there's just not a whole lot of excuse to it. Anyways, I'm just checking to make sure Stuart got. Did you get the link, Stuart? I sent you the link, man. There, I'm just going to check and make sure. Yeah, so I sent it. So, like I say, if you're still in the stream there, Stuart, I sent it to your Gmail account. Your Gmail account. I sent it there. And we'll just wait and see. Anyways, so in the meantime, let me just bring this off here. Because once again, for this, it's like, and I got nothing against this person per se, but a program for democracy. It's just, I don't want to go backwards, man. I don't want to go backwards. And that's the thing. Everyone, I get it. That's the other hard thing too, is we're all increasing our knowledge. We're all educating and informing ourselves seemingly, right? Or a lot of us are. But we're not all on the same level. And I'm sorry, like, no offense, but I'm not going to run back to accepting a mob rule now, right? Hopefully this person will get the chance to actually, watch this live stream so they'll understand, better my thoughts on this issue, right? Because to try to cover an issue like that in text form. Think about how I could still be doing it, right? Anyways, let me just check and see how you folks are doing here. Barry show. Oh, here, let me get these glasses off. I can see that very bad. The very best. Barry show is called The Big Puzzle, and it's on Revolution Radio Studio. Oh, B, Sunday afternoons and Wednesday evening. Okay, thank you very much, Canadian Patriot. Definitely. That's the thing too, though. Like, I'm not a hard dude to find. Like, so why? I don't know. To me, I get a little bit weirded out why I'm, because technically, and to be perfectly honest with you, I spent all those years doing all the. Why the fuck do I got to be the one to always put in the work? I guess that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like, I hear you. I mean, if Barry wants me to come on a show, could invite me. It's not like I'm a hard guy to find. All over social media. But anyways, I don't want to get into that stuff anyways, because yeah, there's plenty enough enemies out there. Well, that's quite the username. Beaver. The strongest, most fit is usually the most disciplined. Would be a natural choice for leaders. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's another great point. Thick Beaver. Can't help but laugh. That username, that's funny. But yeah, the strongest, most fit is usually the most. Exactly. That's a great point. See, this is what I love about having other people like yourself, to chime in, because yeah, like, well, I might have thought about that, but I didn't initially, and you did. So yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point, because yeah, for a person to get to be a natural, and that's a great thing too, an actual natural leader, like someone that actually where people actually want to follow, not a ruler, because that's a big difference between the ruler, right, sits above, do this. The leader actually leads. Like, but yeah, but yes, of course. And the reason why those people are people, it's a leader. The only reason why people will genuinely follow an actual leader is because they recognize that level of competence, right? And yeah, great point, great point. And thanks for joining the stream. Really appreciate that, by the way. Democracy equals mob rules, which is and always has been total bullshit. Yeah, totally with you there. But that's the thing, Mad Cat. And thank you for joining the stream too. Imagine saying that, or you folks may have. Imagine saying that. Just go to work, or go out to eat with some of your friends, or the local pool hall maybe, or something. I don't know, or the bar, and just say that stuff. Or maybe you're like me and you have the kind of friends that are with you on that. But if you have any status friends in your life and you say this, or oh, what do you support? Tyrants? What are you all about? Monarchs, maybe, or dictatorships? Oh, you're a plutocrat, maybe, or aristocrat. No, none of that. Just once again, don't believe in rulers, whether it's one, right, or 1,000 or millions of them, right? I don't need rulers. Just need some very basic rules. I don't need rulers, right? Oh my God. It's just, even if you're, I've used this, I haven't used this in quite a while, but think about it, even if you were just going to sit down and play like a game of Monopoly, or Scrabble, or chess, or anything, all you really need, you don't need rulers, right? You just need to know the rules, right? That's pretty much it. You just need to know the rules. No need for rulers. And people say, oh, yeah, but what about the people that won't obey the rules? Well, that's precisely the people, when you say you're going to need someone to regulate and be in control of that situation, because some people aren't going to obey the rules, because that's what people always use. That's what status, that's their fucking go-to thing, right? Oh, yeah. But what about the fuckers that won't obey the rules? Oh, yeah. As a libertarian, trust me, I fucking know. A lot of people on this planet don't want to fucking pay attention to rules or listen to them. I understand it 100%. The problem is I'm not fucking stupid enough to say, oh, yeah. So there's people that don't pay attention to rules. So let's give this person this position where they now can have completely control over the rest of us. Right? Well, chances are that they're probably going to be the ones that's not going to want to fucking follow the rules. Right? If they're the ones ruling, right? And we're the ones that have to follow the rules. Well, think about how's the state always work out? How do politicians, right? Trudeau don't follow no fucking rules. Come on. You or I do. If we do, I mean, I was even watching just the other day, or was it yesterday? Lincoln J. Check that out, by the way, the Rebel Media Reporter guy. Him and Alexa Lavoie were down at Roxham Road. Actually, it was great. he got on a bus down in, I think it was New York City, went all the way up to Plattsburgh, get into one of those cabs that was sitting there waiting to take the immigrants across, right? The asylum seekers from the United States of all places, really. But anyways, but yeah, so he get up there, went all the way up to the border, even get in one of those cabs, right? That's going to take you right to Roxham Road. Paid the guy, or actually he didn't have the cash. Anyways, got the guy figured out and went to do the boarding to cross over just like everyone else. And the cop basically told him, ask him, and Lincoln J, I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian. Can I cross this border like everyone else is doing? Nope. It's a crime, right? But that's the thing. People want to give certain people, there's just people that won't follow rules. Well, all those border crossers weren't following the rules, right? Who's stopping them? What, someone, even after Trudeau said the border is closed, we've had testimony. I think even a couple in the established media have actually been down there and acknowledged, well, wait, now they're still coming across the border, right? So really, when people talk about democracy or rules-based, yeah, I'm all about rules. But the problem is, in a democracy, right, is the rulers are the ones that never follow the rules. So to me, it's just the most stupidest thing on the planet. If you care about people following rules, the true way to hold them to accountable is not to give anyone the pretense of authority where they can't escape that accountability. Because that is literally what government is all about. That's literally what democracy is all about. It is a story. It's a tale as old as time itself. Well, not exactly that old, but we all know this. We all know this. People from the left, right, and everywhere in between know this intrinsically, instinctively. They know this. But like I say, the power of indoctrination, all that stuff somehow gets completely shoved to the side of their brain, and they're just programmed to repeat. Democracy. You got to vote. Oh, you got to have politicians. You got to have governance. You got to have government, right? What are you going to do without government? It'll be pure anarchy. Well, you know who lives under anarchy right now? Anarchy exists for the ruling class. Full anarchy. I mean, look at Trudeau, how many laws and rules and everything that man has broken. And his party. Like, think about all the things, because that's the other thing, too, is when you talk about laws, I'm talking about things that are based on principles, morality, and ethics, not arbitrary edicts, but actual genuine laws that actually make sense. That actually, the things that you would need in a genuine society, right? These fucking people do not follow or obey any of them. And yet people are still stupid enough to say, but we need a democracy. Once again, I'll just point this out. I'm not advocating for any form of governance, because I'm a philosophical libertarian. Don't need authoritarian mommy or daddy of any kind or any groups, right? But I will just say this, just as someone who actually understands things in terms of not just numbers, but that one strong guy at the top, I mean, no matter how strong he is, no matter how crazy of a mustache he has, right? Ooh, no matter what kind of outfit he's wearing, right? No matter how loud he yells or how hard he bangs on the pulpit, no matter what, that one fucking fool, first of all, him alone is not a real big threat to anybody. But as Larkin Rose and others have pointed out, it's those mindless minions. It's the order followers. It's the believers. It's the statists that'll follow his fucking orders and his edicts. Those are the people. It's the mob. It's the democracy-loving mob, right? And we're seeing it. I mean, look at COVID and the lockdowns, the mandates, and all that shit was a perfect example. How you like your democracy? You all seen the fucking mob, even though they were on the wrong side of things, they must at least at this point recognize, oh shit, at this point in time, although they'll never acknowledge it or admit it, right? It's fuck. We used our power of the mob to target, harass, bully, inflict social and economic harms. Think about what they did to the unvaccinated and how much they reveled in it and enjoyed it. Democracy. Fuck the mob, man. Fuck the mob, right? bullshit. And especially that's another thing too. We got to bring the multiculturalism aspect into this too, right? The mob and the multicultural. Now you're not even talking about one fucking mob now. When you bring multiculturalism into it, right? Now you're talking multiples of mobs, which is that mob. Hey, I'm not a fan of that mob, but I'm not a fucking fan of that mob either, right? And the thing with democracy is that mob is like, oh, we can't allow that mob to take power. Ooh, that mob don't like me, right? Ooh, we got major issues. We have serious grievances and differences, as we're seeing today, right? So, I'll do anything under my power to make sure that mob never gets in power. So this mob is going to, the underhanded things they'll do. I mean, once again, China canned election meddling. Anybody, right? Think about the fucking stuff that will take place just to maintain power because they're so scared. That's the thing. When government becomes that powerful, right? Where it's not just a little pea shooter, it's not a little cap gun, but it's a fucking 50 cal, right? Nobody wants the other person or the other group to have access to that much firepower and their ability to point it at them, right? Under the guise of legality, even. That's the other thing, right? Democracy and the mob, there's this pretense. I mean, if I went and pointed a fucking any weapon at someone, yeah, that's a crime, right? That's a fucking crime right there. There's a criminal intent there. But yet governments, the mob, the collectives, the tribes, oh, they do it all the fucking time. They constantly, nobody ever gets charged. Why? Because as long as you vote for the crime, it's okay. As long as you and the rest of your gang, and there's enough of you vote and say, no, it's okay. It's totally legit for me to steal from you, to economically enslave your kids, right? To dictate and micromanage every aspect of your social lives, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's cool, right? So once again, and once you've done that, and that's what we're seeing today, right? The left is beating the fucking shit out of the right in terms of clobbering over the head with every goddamn piece of identity politics nonsense that they can come up with. And you know what's going to happen with that? Well, the right wingers, when they get their chance, be like, oh, you motherfuckers, huh? Oh, you like playing. So, you know, it's a tit for tat kind of thing, right? Which is just nonstop escalation. Whereas if none of this, if we didn't believe in this foolishness where we have to be forcefully aligned or associate with each other, or multiculturalism, because that's another thing, multiculturalism. I mean, that's fine if you have a different culture and I have a different culture, as long as we don't have to fucking deal with each other, be forced to deal with each other. You can be the biggest fucking nut bar on the fucking planet as far as I'm concerned. But the minute I'm forced to associate with you or to pay for you in any way or to provide you with your ability to use that shit towards me, I mean, we got issues. Which is why to me it's so infuriating when you talk about, you know, people that are talking about, listen, just like the parents or that couple, you know, that they just fucking fight and bicker nonstop, right? They have irreconcilable differences. There's no way. And they've tried years to work through it, and they've fucking destroyed everything in their house, you know, and each other. Right? So at some point in time, you're like, well, it's just not working. It's just not working. Maybe, right? You go your way, I'll go my way. Under that scenario, that is really the only way you're going to get any peace. Both of you, right? This is the thing. It's not even a national divorce, right? Or acknowledging people's sovereignty and having a live, let live mentality and fuck this democracy bullshit. Everybody, like I say, the LGBTQ, you fuckers go do whatever the hell you want to do. Even with some parents' kids, you know, you want to fucking mess those kids up beyond belief, you know, as much as I think that is just so wrong. I mean, they're not my fucking kids. And if those parents are willing to allow it to happen, well, whatever. I can't fucking, and nor would I want to control it, right? So let them learn the hard way. As long as you don't get the that's really what it comes down to in the end of the day. But as I said, and I said years and years ago when I first started learning about all this stuff, is what it is. I'll tell you why socialists, just like in China or any other fucking communist country or collectivist regime or Venezuela, why they won't allow for a divorce is just imagine, you know, just like with the husband and wife scenario. Well, just like in the national divorce kind of scenario, right? Or secession, or yeah, just leaving each other alone, right? Imagine if the wife and the husband, if that wife hated that husband so much she didn't want to be with him, she fucking cheating on him all the time, never did one goddamn thing, lift her finger, basically just useless. That's right. But rather than divorce, because let's say that maybe that woman, let's under this scenario, maybe that woman never worked an honest day in her fucking life, and if the husband goes, well, it's like, well, shit. Well, see, actually, you can't use that scenario anymore because actually women can use the state to supplement, right? So I guess it's not that. But think about it. That's really at the grand scale is the socialists, the parasites. They don't want a divorce because they realize the people. I know this. I know this because I live it every day. The people, like I say, if people like myself or you folks are no longer part of their little system, well, then they literally have to rely on government printing machine go all day long, every day to get by. Because they rely on stealing from our productivity. That's why they won't let us go, right? And why they're playing these stupid games. They themselves don't even fucking like the multiculturalism bullshit. They like having lots and lots of slaves. They like those slaves to be warring factions against each other, right? Creates lots of government work. I mean, you can't imagine just by pitting identity politics, pitting people against each other or groups against each other, just how many government bureaucrats or departments benefit from all that. So I mean, it makes sense for some people why they might like that. Oh, let me bring that off. Anyways, but yeah, democracy and mob rule. Anyways, yeah, thanks for joining the stream there. Include intelligence to that list. Yeah, exactly. Not sure what happened with Stewart. Yeah, weird. I'm not sure what happened to Stewart. Anyways, just gonna keep going then, folks. Hey, Anarcha Rika, how you doing? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, so let me keep going here, folks. So this is another one. This one here, let me bring this up. Throw the old glasses back on again for this one. So this one here is contribute to the National Post. Frank Stronach. Canada needs a democratic revolution. The best solution to break the stranglehold that political parties have on our democratic process is to introduce citizen representatives into parliament. This was published March 28, 2023. In my column last week, I argued that our system of government no longer works and needs changing. Actually, this is the thing, which tells me that these people just don't understand things properly. And it's a shame because these are the people that are informing us, right? But the system of government is working exactly as intended for those who created it, sustain it, and benefit from it. This is the problem. If it's not working for you, as this person is acknowledging, well, that's just because you aren't part of it, or it's not conducive to your way of how you would want things to unfold or society to be governed, right? But for the people who do like controlling, it's going just fine for them. I mean, the people at the upper echelons of the elites in society, the parasites among us, I mean, they're living like kings and queens in comparison to like you or I. So to them, like none of this makes sense. It's great for those people. So to them, it's like, no, don't change it. There's a reason why the establishment, right, is hell bent on nobody changing. I mean, Trudeau, think about it. Trudeau come to power on, I think, two of the major promises that he made to Canadians is two of the main ones, I think, were the main drivers behind getting that guy in the position he did. Younger people, no doubt, was the legalization of weed. They were like, oh, fuck yeah, man. fucking A, right? And I can understand as a young person, like, not being criminalized for smoking, cultivating, or fucking, you know, growing a plant. Yeah, of course. And I'm with you, young folks. But what you should have known, and what I tried to warn about early on, and it's all coming to fruition, is it just gives them more control. They're just trying to control the market. Now they're failing at it. I kind of pointed that out as well, right? Because yeah, I just couldn't see them squeezing the black market out, the free market out, because the free market is so much more efficient, right? And operates on so much more of a flexible type of level that I just knew that wasn't going to happen. But the other major promise, and a lot of Canadians, I don't hear many people talk about it anymore, but another major promise, and even myself, I thought, as much as I'm not a fan of democracy, at the very least with this, it gets a little bit more voices in there rather than, because there's nothing, I cannot watch like question period and those things where these fucking idiots and nobody answers question. But what Trudeau say? This will be the last election under the first past the post system, right? I'm sure that was a big thing because I remember that resonated with a lot of people. Oh, you mean we can actually get proportional representation? That, even for someone like Maxime Bernier and the PPC or the People's Alliance or the Green Party or I don't know, like the Alberta or the Wild Road or whoever, that's the thing. If you had something like proportional representation, at least you would get the odd voice, the counter narrative, at least someone that pushed back against the status quo or the establishment. You'd at least get the odd voice representatives. They'd still be in a huge minority, no doubt, in this country, right? But at least you'd get the odd voice, right? They at least get the odd time at the bully pulpit, or at least on the big one of the bigger pulpits where people actually hear what they have to say, right? At least the kind of people that are listening to it. And that would go a long way. Once again, because people, what it is nobody's hearing the things that they need to hear. But they're not hearing it from the Liberals. They're not hearing it from the Conservatives. They're not hearing it from the NDP. They're not hearing it from the Greens. They're not hearing it from anyone that actually sits in any of the parliaments. Right? They're not getting any of that. So the people aren't getting the proper kind of information. That's factual. Nor proper representations if they actually care about freedom. I mean, the fact that sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but anyways, let me just continue on. Sorry, folks. I cited some evidence that our country is mismanaged, from rising debt to a deteriorating economy. But the key point I wanted to drive home was that our country is heading in the wrong direction. By a whole host of measures, we're getting worse, not better. That's been that way for a long time. Long time. When I first came to Canada in the 1950s, most families only needed one income earner to enjoy a comfortable middle class lifestyle, own a home and car, and take annual vacations. That's virtually impossible today. Yeah, inflation, fiat currencies. That's the reason. I mean, just go back and look when even just one of the major things that you can see, it's like it's so glaringly obvious. Just go and look, anybody, and the charts are all over the internet, so it's not hard to find. Just go look at any chart where it shows productivity, the productivity chart in terms of what actual wages are for the productive class, the working class, and see that growing divide after, especially in particular after 1970, 1971, 71 when Nixon severed the tie with the gold standard, right? You see the difference when governments could just print money, no problem, no restraints, no restrictions whatsoever, more or less, right? You've seen how that happened. And then now that it seems like MMT is the new economics that's being practiced today, right? And you see how like it's that exponential growth now, that huge chasm, that huge divide, right? But that's the thing. People like myself, especially, I'm a perfect example because I was born in 1970, is my entire life and I started working when I was 15, I have not, and my wages has increased, what, threefold, three times or so, 3 or 4 times since I started working at 15. But it's like I never gained one bit of ground. The monetary, the numbers look higher. So instead of $4 an hour, right? Much higher than that. Even if you're at like say $20 an hour, right? Which is what, 4 or 5 times that. But that $20 an hour today doesn't give you any more purchasing power than the $4 an hour did back then. Actually, I would suggest, depending on what you're looking to purchase, right? You might be able to get a little more cheap consumable electronic goods, or a chocolate bar or two, maybe at Dollarama, might be even closely on par, maybe even a little cheaper. You never know. But the big items that matter, that sustain us, right? The roof over your head, the food in your belly, the vehicle you drive, right? The gas in that vehicle, right? All those things, the costs have grown exponentially in comparison. So it's like we haven't even, our wages, it's not even like they were stagnant. It's like they decreased over that time. That's the problem. That's the reason why a guy back in the 1950s on one income could sustain him and his entire family, and have the house, the dog, the white picket fence, the car, right? All that stuff. You can have all that stuff. So government is the problem. Government central banks is what destroyed this. Even 30 years ago, a couple with good jobs, and a plumber and a teacher, for example, or a nurse and a salesman, could affordably buy a house in the suburbs and still have money left over to send their children to university and put some savings aside for retirement. That dream is also out of reach for most. Once again, inflation, big government, central banks, interest rates, mass immigration, all major contributing factors. And what's at the core of all that? Government, democracy, right? A lot of people wanted it that way. People voted. They democratically, right? We don't live in a dictatorship yet, although with Trudeau, I'd say we're goddamn well pretty close, right? At least we did for a while. But the people, since I've been alive, people voted for this. People voted for this. The reality we live in is the reality that people voted for. Democracy. Why are living standards rapidly declining? And more importantly, what can we do to halt this downward slide? I believe the number one problem we face is that our country is managed by political parties. As a result, we are governed by short-term political decision-making, which often results in policies that don't make the most economic sense. I mean, part of that is true. This is the other thing. It's almost as if some of these people don't want to or refuse to think deeply enough about this, because kind of right. But let's see what this person has on offer in terms of the remedy. The best solution to break the stranglehold that political parties have on our democratic process is to introduce citizen representatives into parliament. Democratically elected, nonpartisan citizens who would have a say in all economic and national affairs. It's a proposal I've championed for many years now, including in this national post. So, democratically elected, nonpartisan citizens. Isn't that the whole fucking thing? That's how democracy was sold in the fucking first place. We're going to get these democratically elected people, and it all sounds good in theory, but you're still giving fucking people the pretense that they have some kind of authority over others. Democratically elected. Are not politicians or people who represent a political party, are they not individual citizens? I would say yes. And I mean nonpartisan. Let me just say right now, there's no fucking such thing as nonpartisan. As people, especially you're talking about people who want to go into politics, there's no such thing as people that are going to go into politics and not have any perspectives or opinions, or sway it or lean in any which. It's a facade or or just mystical thinking to believe that there are these fucking holier than thou human beings. Or even if, let's just give them a little bit. Let's just say these people do exist, because I'll tell you, I'm quite nonpartisan. But throw me in a position where now I have this much power to rule over so many people, and so many people trying to influence my decision, because it's a democracy, right? With the mob coming at me from all different angles. And you want to pretend that even myself, I'll just tell you straight up and honest, I don't know. I don't see how I stay that perfect nonpartisan, right? So political parties, sure, parties are definitely a problem, but getting rid of parties, is that the solution to the problem? Nope, not at all. But this is what I mean. I don't know. To me, that's the thing that a lot of the people that have suggestions on offer these days is like a lot of times to me it seems like sorry folks, it seems like you just want to rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic as it's on its way down. Right? That's what's like really? That's the best you got on offer? All right, what tune are we gonna play? How about we try to fucking stop the ship from sinking if it's even humanly possible? Or get the fuck off the ship entirely. Right? It's got to be something you can find to put out in the water and try to save yourself, right? Anyways, citizen representatives would vote on all bills brought before the House of Commons and would effectively hold the balance of power in Parliament. So, once again, you don't think any of these people, just like the people now, what? Hey, does this benefit me and my preferences? Yeah. Oh, I'm all for it, right? Oh, wait a minute. Does this go against my personal internal belief? Because everyone has them, right? Well, then maybe I won't support it. To me, it's so weird. It's so weird the way this. But hey, once again, um, in short, they would provide a vigorous counterbalance to the unchecked power of governing political parties. In short, they would provide a counterbalance. Isn't that the whole point of the fucking Senate? This is the hilarious part. What the hell? That was literally the point. Even if you go all the way back to fucking, early days of democracy, the whole point of the Senate, just like the US, hey, they're a republic, right? But they have a Senate, they have the House, the Congress, and the Senate. We have the House of Commons and the Senate. Two totally different political systems. Ours is a what? Parliamentary democracy, right? / monarchy. Right. The US is a republic, right? And yet they both, right? Someone at some point in time in the past, like, hey, listen, maybe these Congress people, right? All these lobbyists, they might be swayed and influenced with all this money swashing around or all this influence, right? All these different aspects of society or cultures constantly want to impose their way of life onto others, right? Well, what's to suggest that that wouldn't be happening in either scenario? There's nothing to suggest that. Absolutely nothing to suggest that. But that's what I mean. Anyways, let me read a little bit more. Citizen representatives would vote on all bills brought before the House of Commons and would, okay. In short, they would provide a vigorous count. Okay. Oh, yeah. When you look back in history, most cultures had wise councils. The ancient Roman Senate or Council of Elders was typically the chamber where the republic's wisest and most experienced citizens would dispense counsel and strategic advice. Well, instead of using the Roman example, you could have gone with the Greek example. But see, that's the thing. This person wants to sound smart as if they're reinventing the wheel when no, nothing. They're just basically saying, let's just rinse and repeat what's been tried or done 1,000 times before, expecting the different result. Sounds quite insane. I envision that our country's citizen representatives would act as a type of modern day council elders. As a result, I believe citizen representatives should be required to be at least 50 years of age and have the endorsement of at least 300 fellow citizens. Anyways, should I even bother? It's basically just setting up for you. Basically, they're setting up. You want an aristocrat class, right? And no, they won't become corrupted, will they? No, no, no. Because these people are cut from a completely different kind of cloth than you or I, apparently. Anyways, folks, yeah, I'll make sure to share these things in the link description of this stream. But like democracy. This, and I'm going to bring up the multiculturalism thing here in a second. So actually, I'm going to bring up this. It's a Britannica thing because this is the part that I found quite funny. So from Encyclopedia Britannica, let's bring it up. Oh, let me bring that off here. Okay, share. Bring this off. Okay. So here we go from Encyclopedia Britannica. Boy, I wish I had those when I was a kid. And this is basically the the definition, the whole big explainer on what multiculturalism is. The view that cultures, races, and ethnicities, particularly those of minority groups, deserve special acknowledgement of their differences within a dominant political culture. That acknowledgement can take the forms of recognition of contributions to the cultural life of the political community as a whole, a demand for special protection under the law for certain cultural groups, or autonomous rights of governance for certain cultures. See, this is what I mean. So this is the part that's I'm already like or autonomous rights of governance for certain cultures. So this is the thing. Let's use Canada's example. Because the monarch or the current governing system or structure, they believe that if you are part of their former cultures or colonies, right, in old Europe, they think that whether it's you or your grandkids or great grandkids, just like if you owned a dog and they kept him, it's like they think that they basically own you. You're part, like the sovereign, like the king now instead of the queen, like that. They think that you're still their subjects, their serfs. Basically, they're modern day slaves, right? Whereas the First Nation people, because they recognize that they can see the visible differences between them and that they don't come from the same historical culture. Well, they're like, oh, we got to give the First Nation people their sovereignty so that they can govern themselves. Okay, so what you're saying is you don't have the authority because those are sovereign people. So you don't have the authority to govern over them. Well, then what the fuck makes you think this is a weird thing that some people think, well, it's okay to govern over these people because they lived in this particular geographic area on this big giant planet. Because that's the thing. If you look at the planet, it's just a big fucking planet. These people, oh yeah, I should have the right to rule over them because they kind of look like me. Right? So fucked up. Anyways, let me read a little bit more here. Because like I say, this whole multicultural thing is really important too. Multiculturalism is both a response to the fact of cultural pluralism in modern democracies and a way of compensating cultural groups for past exclusions, discrimination, and oppression. Most modern democracies comprise members with diverse cultural viewpoints, practices, and contributions. Many minority cultural groups have experienced exclusion or the denigration of their contributions and identities in the past. Multiculturalism seeks the inclusion of the views and contributions of diverse members of society while maintaining respect for their differences and withholding the demand for their assimilation into the dominant culture. So this is the thing. When you're talking about a culture, right? There has to be one area where assimilation, now I don't know if that's even the proper word actually, but the problem with is because we do live in a multicultural country and people, right? Just like let's just bring it down to the easier level for people to understand. So instead of saying multicultural, let's say multi-households, right? Just on my where I live alone, just in 1 mile, let's say the 3 neighbors this way and 3 neighbors that way. I guarantee you, even though we live close to each other and we grow up in rural areas, most of us here anyways, right? Somewhat similar backgrounds. Even here, you would see glaring divides and differences in terms of what the people around me in their households, first of all, how they raise their kids, how they live, right? And the things they prioritize, right? And what they consider to be even right or wrong. A lot of them, trust me, a lot of people I have major differences in just something as simple as what they believe is right and wrong, moral or immoral. So multicultural or multi-household, the only way we can live this close proximity with each other is like properly is that they don't get to force their ways of doing things on me. The problem though, under democracy, they do. I am forced, You are. We're all forced to prop up things that I'm completely against. We're all paying for. I mean, I'm not even a hockey player, right? But I, for one, am not a fan of this weird fucking thing now where it's not even okay just to accept the fact that people are, trans, LGBT. Oh, now it's no, you got to fucking wear my shirt or else, motherfucker, right? It's like, I don't agree with that. I think people, if you want to do that, do it. If you don't, you don't. But I sure as fuck don't like the fact that the tax money they steal from me and the government who claims to have legitimacy in this country gets to force me and a whole lot of other Canadians to subsidize or pay for people who are going after. I mean, that's what they're doing now. In the NHL, now they've got a diversity and equity inclusion fucking hire now. So, and I saw that coming anyways early on when they were going after the NHL and trying to get rid of that guy at the top, right? Now they've instilled or installed their own, like the woke mob, right? And brought that agenda along with them. Why the fuck should I be forced to support that in any way? I am completely against that. And even if my neighbor supported it, why the fuck? Like, to me, it doesn't matter. And we're talking about people that historically have a lot of history in common. Now, take into account that we live in a country that is so multicultural where there is no actual culture. I mean, Trudeau himself basically admitted that there is no core identity in Canada. So what are you talking about when you're talking about democracy, multiculturalism? Combine them together. Oh, and don't forget about the identity politics, right? So democracy, mob rule, multiculturalism, which is a plurality of mobs, a whole bunch of mobs rather than just one mob, right? So mob rule, a whole bunch of mobs, and the divisiveness of identity politics. And just like what I called this live stream is democracy plus multiculturalism plus identity politics, basically it's a perpetual, it really creates perpetual conflict and fighting. That is what it does. You could no way not in a household, not in a business, nowhere could you ever, or in terms of governance, and that's the thing, no way could you ever set up any situation or scenario where you have that much glaring divide, those many differences, and that much power on the line and suggest that that's a good idea. The people that are promoting this stuff, like even I said, even too, for this, the trans people, what I see today, and no, it's not just because of that person that was trans that did the shooting down in Tennessee. No, I'm talking based on all the divisiveness, just like when you're talking about COVID, that same kind of identity politics in terms of, well, not just, us versus them, right? Us versus them, the vax versus the unvaccinated, right? Well, to me, it's the same difference. It's just constantly pitting, tribal or groups, tribalism or groups against each other. That is literally and what I see today is if the trans community, if there does at some point in time, I don't see that taking place. I don't see any reports of it, but let's say at some point in time, not just threats, but some violence, is used towards some people in the trans community. I have no doubt in my mind. Now, of course, the person that did it, culpable, and I hold them personally responsible first and foremost. But I also will point out then, just like I have for so long, it's this constant whipping up of hatred and division and fear. That's what's at the core. That's what's at the heart of all of this. And if anything like that does actually transpire or take place, you can rest assured that all this divisionness, all this forced association, all this democracy, all this multiculturalism, all this identity politics bullshit is going to be right at the root, at the core of why that took place, transpired. I've watched it unfold for years now. I've watched it unfold. These tyrants, these manipulators and they're vile fucking people. They whip up all this hatred and division and fear, and then they basically sit back and watch how it unfolds, and they get exactly what they want because they know how to manipulate the masses. And to me, it's a sad reality that the masses are still so easy to manipulate in that way. Anyways, let me read this. Multiculturalism as a challenge to traditional. Yeah. Multiculturalism stands as a challenge to liberal democracy. No shit. In liberal democracies, all citizens should be treated equally under the law by abstracting the common identity of citizen from the real social, cultural, political, and economic positions and identities of the real members of society. That leads to a tendency to homogenize the collective of citizens and assume a common political culture that all participate in. However, that abstract view ignores other political salient features of the identities of political subjects that exceed the category of citizens, such as race. First of all, what the fuck does race have to do with politics? It really shouldn't. What color your skin is should not affect your politics. That's so weird. Um, where are we at here? Religion. I mean, that might. Class. Class might. Anyways, although claiming the formally equality of citizens, the democratic view tends to underemphasize ways in which citizens are not in fact equal in society. Rather than embracing the traditional liberal image of the melting pot in which people of different cultures are assimilated into a unified national culture, multiculturalism generally holds the image of a tossed salad to be more appropriate. Although being an integral and recognizable part of the whole, diverse members of society can maintain their particular identities while residing in the collective. Well, see, this is the thing. Not when you're talking about this is the thing that should be brought up is what about when you're talking about um, how you want people to treat each other, right? Because as we know, there are some cultures that believe in genital mutilation. There are some cultures that believe in men marrying young children, right? There are some cultures who believe that the using violence on your spouse and your children is it's good. It's applauded. It's the way to go. There are some cultures who, I mean, come on, there's a multitude of things that some cultures do or believe in that are antithetical to anything remotely resembling individual liberty. So that's the thing. How can you have multiculturalism, right? That's the thing. Multicultural, having a whole bunch of different cultures. That's fine, but it doesn't work in a democracy, right? Because all those cultures are going to be vying to be the dominant group. Because as we know, it's not like all those cultures are going to align with each other. That experiment failed. They tried it. Now, it seemed like when I was growing up, it seemed like it was quite dominant then, this liberal thing where they were going to get everyone to be a big melting pot and everyone was going to assimilate. But once again, it's another one of those things where sounds good in theory. How does it work out in practice? Right? Because that's a big thing. If these things that are theorized or dreamt up about or fantasized about never actually come to fruition in the real world, well, what the fuck? What are they? Something to write a fictional novel, maybe, or a Saturday night movie, but it should never be based or grounded on how we live or deal with each other in the physical space. Anyways, folks, I'll drop that off there too. I just wanted to check once again. I think I'm going to have to assume that Stuart, something happened. Something happened to Stuart. Okay. So let me bring up some more stuff. Oh yeah, just so when you're talking about this multiculturalism too, let's bring this up because this is really part and parcel of it too. Now, some of you folks are probably aware of the numbers, but and so am I, but even when I see it now, it's just wow. It's unreal. Canada's population grew by a record 1 million in 2022, spurred by international migration. Let me take these glasses off, actually. You can see that decently enough. Canada's population grew by 1 million in 2022, spurred by international migration. Total population closing in on 40 million as Canada remains fastest growing G7 country. That came. This was posted March 22nd. Total population grew by a record 1.05 million people to 39.57 million in the 12 months to January 1st, 2023. And about 96% of those of that rise was due to international migration, the statistics agency said. So could you imagine, right? Could you imagine? Once again, just paint that scenario. And I mean, that's the other thing too. A lot of these people are coming from very, very, very different backgrounds and cultures than what you and I are ever accustomed to. And I can't help but think, but that's the thing. I'm not going to let some of the people who look just like me off the hook either, because I know a lot of them are contributing to this race to the bottom too. But I can't help but think that yes, growing a population in Canada, not just 1 million in 1 year, but since Trudeau come to power in 2015, like I believe back in, actually, let me just check and see what the population was in 2015. Canada population 2015. 35 million. 35 million, folks. 35 million in 2015. What did it say we're at now? 35 million. Let me go back up here. 35. 39. 4 million people. 4 million people, right? Just since Trudeau come to power. 4 million. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a meme or something that get that really blasted out there on the internet for all 2 people to see that watch me, right? I'm just kidding. There's a few more of you than 2, but anyways, but yeah, think about that. 4 million people since 2015. Wonder if that'll have any effect. I mean, we already know what kind of effect it's having on housing, right? And educate. I mean, there's just a multitudes of things that affects, right? But you got to think that the whole culture and how people are in terms of the whole freedom or liberty thing, right? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I can't say because I don't know who exactly these 4 million people are. But I got to tell you, it just doesn't seem like a wise idea to bring 4 million people, especially when your country's already like, we're already pretty familiar, even before 2015, right? There's already, I mean, I was reporting on stuff long before 2015, and there's a lot of, I mean, just the financial crisis alone in 2008 and all that stuff, right? So, but think about what all this is. And then not only you got these 4 million people coming here, but now they're being inundated, right? Even let's just say initially, let's just give them all. I think it's foolish to give them all, right? But let's just do it for a thought experiment. Let's just say they all had nothing but the best of intentions, and they're all libertarians. No, I can't say that. But they all, at the very least, have the best of intentions and mean to cause no social or economic harm to any of us. Let's say that's all of every single one of them that have ever come to this border. The 4 million of them, every one of them, without exception, are like that. But once they're here, right? That's the thing. Because of big government, what's big government teaching them? Big government and media and the education system. Big government's teaching them, you're going to need us to protect you against those terrible, terrible, white men in particular, right? Right? Especially those heteros. Oh, yeah, right. Middle-aged hetero men, you got to watch them, right? Anyways, and that it's those bad white men that are keeping everyone else in society down, right? That's why. So now you've got millions of people who are now in this country And they're getting the news. I mean, if you're in a new country, you're going to want to hear the news, right? You're going to at least probably want to know what's going on out there. Put your ears to the ground a little bit, and you're constantly inundated with day in day out how it's bad white people, bad white men in particular, right? And how, because think about the way the media and the establishment, the way they paint this country is people like, I would say you or I, most of you people that would probably watch me, I'm assuming, are probably white or not men in particular, I guess. But anyways, but think about it. These 4 million people are being inundated with the message that people like me are just terrible, that we're racist, homophobe, xenophobe, anti-LGBTQ, anti-BIPOC. I mean, they're setting up the scenario where these people are coming to this country and learning that, well, if I'm going to do my duty as a Canadian citizen, the only thing that I can do, and based on the political parties and the people that brought me here, I should listen to them because they were the one that brought. And they're saying, well, I got to hate people like Bennett, and I got to do everything I can to make sure that Bennett's voice doesn't get heard or resonate with anybody, right? Think that might affect your fucking culture, right? Once again, democracy, multiculturalism, and identity politics, it literally equals perpetual conflict. And that, mark my words, this is what's going to play out. And you folks know I don't make these fucking foolish predictions, but if it continues this way, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And you think things have gotten bad yet? Trust me, they've got a whole lot worse they can get. Still. Anyways, yeah, actually, that was pretty much the big thing that I wanted to bring out of this article is the fact, yeah, so just 1 million just in the last year, and 4 million, and that's the other thing. Oh, I hope you folks are still there. Restream, Bennett. Ah, shit. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just going to check out some of your folks' comments here real quick. Restream. Payback's a bitch when that shit comes. They better have a good place to hunt. uh, hey, Bennett. Oh, what happened? Hey, what's going on, Liquid Gal? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I have no idea. I don't know. Uh, I believe they are mixing decent immigrants with a mix of real nasty immigrants to help spark off civil unrest. In my opinion, many real good immigrants in Canada. Again, their democracy. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, that's why when I talk about this stuff, I talk about it at that macro level because at the individual level, I'm sure there are really good people. This is the thing. This is the problem, folks. It's that once you place that proverbial gun in the room, right? Even the best people, right? Once they recognize that everyone else is going to be reaching for it, even the best person. Well, that's the thing. No matter how you set up the situation or scenario, right? Is government is force. It is the proverbial gun in the room. That's what democracy is. So we know that the people who are first wanting to grab that gun typically are the ones that want to take and have control of it. But then there might be some people even who might try to grab it just out of the means of self-defense, right? But then there's other people who don't want nothing to do with a gun, who just, you know, want to go through their lives, don't want to use a gun as their means to an end, right? Or even always have to carry around a gun all the time, right? This is the thing. But democracy, like I say, that is the thing with democracy. That is the point of mob rule. Is it literally entices everyone. It brings out the worst of people. People like to suggest, right? The sophists, they like to suggest that democracy, oh, it's the best of all of it's the best out of all the other forms of, or how do they say it? But basically, it's not great, but it's better than all these other ones, right? But like I say, to me, it's ruling over people. That is the thing. Ruling, controlling, and dictating and micromanaging people's lives. That is the thing. The tool, the name, the label you give that, to me, it's fucking meaningless. It's the action. It's what is the point? Is it what's the basis of this thing, right? Which is why, no, I'm no fan of democracy. And I would even suggest those good people that you're talking about, Mad Cat, of which I'm quite certain there are plenty of them, right? But those are the ones that are going to suffer, right? It's the good immigrants that have the live, let live. It's the good people who always suffer under tyranny. And yeah, democracy is tyranny. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner, right? Sounds good if you're one of the wolves. Not so good if you're with the lamb, although I do like the U.S. Fortunately, with their Second Amendment, although many of them aren't taking advantage of that fact, apparently, but anyways, theirs is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner, but meanwhile, the wolf or the sheep's locked and loaded under the table. So it's like, well, that's the equalizer, right? See, that was the thing with the U.S. The U.S. actually realized even when they set up their structure of government, it's like, well, you got to watch out for them wolves, all right? So here, lamb, you have this just in case the wolves ever do decide that you're what they want for dinner. But once again, today, most people are completely, that's the thing. The good people don't want to use it, don't want to use gun, don't want to use violence. Whereas bad people, they sure will, no problem. They love it. They get stiffies just thinking about it. So, how in a democracy do you make that work? Right? How do you make that work? Right? When there's that big proverbial gun in the room and a whole bunch of groups, that's the thing. You pit everyone up into giving them up into groups, multicultural and tribal in nature, and then you throw in some identity politics just in case you didn't do enough division with your culturalism. Right? Then even within your cultures, you want to divide them up along even more identity politics, and then say, here, fight it out amongst each other who gets control of the proverbial gun in the room. To me, it just seems like what a stupid fucking idea. It seems like a really dumb idea. Is whip everyone up, pit everyone into groups, put this one gun in the room, not a whole bunch of guns, just this one big giant gun in the room, and say, okay, go for it. Fight for it. Once again, not going to work out good. And it never has, and it never will. But yet, people still want to play those games. And I was just going to scroll back through to see possibly if I can see if Stewart, maybe. That Tennessee bullshit was just another side of my. You never know. You never know. That's the thing, because there's no way to know that. I just don't even entertain whether it is or not, because it's just so much other stuff, right? Oh yeah. The Alberta NDP is present for Somalia. I know, how fucking crazy is that Somalia a month, right? Nah, no worries. No, you don't need an excuse for that. You say whatever you want. Freedom of speech here. Freedom of speech. What's going on, Lorraine Armstrong? Thick Beaver. Canada does not have a constitution. We never had, although we did have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You don't have to worry. The federal liberals removed it, so no constitution. Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you do or not, because just like with U.S., they have it, right? But at the end of the day, it's not what's written on that parchment or paper that matters. It's the cultural mindset of the people, right? Because none of it means anything. And especially in particular, if you're unwilling to defend. I mean, the U.S., like I say, it's all written in their constitution. But even just, look at what happened after January 6th. And that wasn't even close to being an actual insurrection, which, that's the thing. Secession is something that, you could do in the U.S., right? But of course, that's the other thing too, though, when they set up these forms of governments is, yeah, you can leave, right? Think about it. Even in Canada, right? Secession, you can leave, you can do a referendum, but you have to get the support of the mob. So it's like, but what if I want to be the one to leave, right? And not be part of your tribe? Oh no, but you still need permission from the tribe for you to leave. What? That doesn't make sense. Well, it does in fucking goddamn democracy, right? That's how fucking insane things are. Or even under like the U.S. Republic system, is you need the mob to agree with you to let you go. Right? Like, just to me, it's so weird. Just let us go. Stop holding on. They're like fucking some ex fucking clingy girlfriend that just fucking, she can't stand you, but she can't get enough of you, kind of thing. And I'm sure we've all known people that have either had a girlfriend like that, or someone, that had someone else in their life that knew a girl like that. And it's like, it's fucked up. Can you imagine living your life like that for all of eternity, or until you die? Well, that's what it is to live in a democracy, right? Especially in a late stage, decaying, decrepit, and dying democracy, such as what we're all living under these days, right? It's not that new one. I mean, that's the thing. It's all shiny and new, right? Maybe for a while. Actually, that's another thing I remember hearing years ago. Even socialized healthcare early on, when they first started socializing it, everyone back then was like, oh man, this is good. This is working out great. Everything's, but what it is the people that were doctors early on in the socialist healthcare system were doctors who were originally trained without that socialist healthcare system and learned to be competent and function in the market. So they were good no matter what. They were good. Whereas at this point in the stage, right, or this late stage in democracy and in Canada's social healthcare system, right, it is literally that race to the bottom now. The proper incentive structures are completely gone and wiped out. So now you're getting the worst of the worst, right? That's what you're getting. People now are like, I got 10 sick days off. I'm allowed 10 sick days off, right? So I as well take advantage of it. I'm sick today. Sure, I won't be able to fill, or there might be patients that I can't see, and that lineup will be even longer. And maybe people will, die as a consequence. Who knows, right? But hey, it's the game. The game is structured. The system is structured to bring out the worst among us. That is just a fact. But anyways, thanks for commenting there, Lorraine. Really appreciate that. I'm just going to guess that Stuart, something happened. Sunday law. I guess I have to go down the rabbit hole again. Thanks. Ooh, Sunday law? I don't know Sunday law. I'm not sure on the Sunday law. Must be someone else you're talking to. Hey, what's going on, E Sharp? Really appreciate you being on the stream. I don't see Stuart here. Hey, what's going on, Ben White? Nice to see you in the chat as well. I'm probably not going to get through as much of the stuff as I was thinking of. I always do this to myself. I get looking at all the comments. Hey, Les Sherrod. Sorry, folks. Older people are often more thoughtful and wise, less compulsive, and less prone to make mistakes. Saying cause I is old. Saying cause they can be. They can be. They can be. John Doe. John Doe. Anyone have any updates about the lawmaking VPN against? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, with this Bill C-11. Yeah, what's up with that? I haven't heard anything about that. I'm going to try and find out as much information about that as I can, though. And if I do, I'll do another live stream. Do what's lawful. Fact the satanic. Yeah, right on. Right on. Thanks for joining the stream, Rob. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, so no, I think Stuart something must have happened to Stuart. I'm not sure what happened. Anyways, let me see. There was some things I wanted to cover here. Oh, well, let me just bring this up, like I say, because I'm going to tie it up here soon. Because yeah, there's this, folks. People are getting a lot of hope, and I just want to. I don't want to be a downer, but at the very least, for myself, I just want to minimize as much of that roller coaster ride as possible. So let's just put things into proper perspective here. Because there is going to be election at very least within a couple more years. A couple more years under the Trudeau NDP. Fuck. Holy fuck. It's going to be rough, kids. I won't lie. It's going to be a rough one. It's going to be a rough one. But even then, I mean, here it is. Now, of course, I'm not a big fan of polls, but it shows you that at the very least that there, and I've been saying this for a long time, there's a lot of people in this democracy who support the status quo and the establishment. That's how the establishment and the status quo became to be what it is, was because the majority of the voting people, at least, right? Not talking about the silent majority that just constantly just don't pay attention or whatever, and what the reason is for it. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that's just reality. But the people who choose to vote, the voters, the voting public, they still support. Like here it is, Bonakowski. Believe it or not, Trudeau Liberals surviving in the polls. This is reported by Mark Bonakowski, March 23rd, 2023. Despite the Trudeau Liberals haven't been given a rough ride in the past few months, their fortunes have risen to be within 2 points of the Conservatives. Believe it or not, the latest poll by Abacus Data has the two parties in a virtual dead heat, which proves only one thing to this observer. The public is not paying attention. Well, they are, or they aren't. But even if they are, once again, are they going to bite the hand that feed them? Are they going to shoot themselves in the proverbial foot? If you're a homeowner, I mean, think about the millennial types that are like, oh, I just want the housing market to find this big giant bubble to finally crash so I can finally get into a house and start a family and start a life. Yeah, I'm with you. My bleeding heart is right there with you. The problem is a lot of those older generations or people that are commercial investors in real estate or people who want to play the Ponzi scheme, they're like, no. And you gotta know, those are the kind of people who are voting for the Liberals, because the Liberals and the NDP, and I would even imagine probably the Conservatives, to be honest with you, I don't fucking believe too much any of the people from the party say these days, but they're like, oh, don't worry, I won't. Think about how that would affect their voting base, right? If the housing market crashed, if it was allowed to crash, right, where younger people actually finally got their chance to get their foot in the door, right? Well, it'd be great for them, but it would be a detriment for all those, especially in particular, boomers who have squandered every bit of their savings, and all they really have left these days is debt and that house that they think is their gold-plated pension. Well, I mean, a lot of government workers have already their public sector gold-plated pension, but I'm talking about even just people in the private sector that's a boomer. Right? A lot of them are relying on the fact that they could sell that $1 million or $2 million house and use the proceeds of that sale to pay for the rest of their lives in terms of top ups for the failed pension plan that wouldn't do much to help them in this country, especially at the current rate of inflation, right? So a lot of them are like, no, I do not want this housing market. You can rest assured the housing market is still being propped up and sustained by that fact that democratically, the mob, or at least enough of the mob, is like, fuck no, you're not getting rid of this. I want to maintain this. And I don't care how many people it hurts. Or some of them might even care that it hurts other people. It's like, I care about me more. Which, as a libertarian, yeah, I totally know that. That's how humans are. Even the ones that pretend that they're altruistic and also benevolent. Observe them long enough and you'll find out, yeah, they're hypocrites too. Humans are, for the most part, now I will admit there are the very rare exception and outlier, but for the most part, well, that's what it is for any species. And you folks have heard me say this a million times before. We wouldn't all be here if we didn't have rational self-interest. Right? Just the way the cookie crumbles. But yeah, so I'll bring this off. But yeah, like I say, large portion of our population, big fans of the status quo, of the establishment. Anyways, let me read this one here because I wanted to read this for you, folks. This is infuriating. So as if it's not enough, right? No, it's not enough that you're forced to prop up and sustain, like, so not just the illegal immigrants or even the legal immigrants. Forget about that. That's part of it, but no, just even the people that are here already, the existing Canadians, right? There's so many forced income and wealth redistribution schemes. You're forced to prop up so many of them. Corporations, you know what I mean? Governments, the list is long, almost endless at this point in time. If you went line by line, how many people benefit from big government? But now you're not even talking in Canada, just internally, the fact that you're going to have to prop up and sustain all these entitlements and unfunded liabilities, right? Especially the young people. But it's not even no longer just in your own country. Now it's even for foreign countries. Check this, folks, out. Or check this out, folks. I'll try to get through this quick. Budget floats $2.4 billion loan for Ukraine. Loan, right? Loan. This is being reported by here. Let me just read the bottom portion of this. The military is getting another $200 million, but most of that spending has been announced already. It's reported by Murray Brewster, March 28, 2023. Canada will extend a $2.4 billion loan to Ukraine this year to help prop up the embattled country's finances. The measure, so you got to remember, they're not just talking about now sending military aid and equipment, right, to fight the war, the conflict against Russia. Now you're talking about in addition to that. So yeah, and we'll get to what those additions are. The measures contained in the latest federal budget tabled in Parliament on Tuesday by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. It builds on Canada's previous fiscal supports for Ukraine, intended to offset the economic devastation wrought by Russia's full invasion in the Eastern Europe country last year. The budget earmarked $200 million for military equipment and donations. Federal officials acknowledge that most of that money has been spent already. The sum includes the recent donation of heavy tanks. The measure is being backdated on the government's books to the current fiscal year, which ends on March 31st. So a little number crunching there to fuck around with the debts and deficit levels, right? But anyways, the Liberal government has also set aside $605.8 million over 5 years through. So that's on, remember, there was a $2.4 billion loan, and this is other stuff, right? So this is other stuff. Over 5 years to replenish the Canadian military stocks. So this is for stocks that were drawn down heavily to supply Ukraine. The new budget offers the first clear indication on how deeply in dollar terms, the federal government has dug into its existing store of shells and munitions to support Ukraine's defense. An additional $1.4 billion has been set aside to cover critical gaps in the Army's inventory. So here we go. Once again, we're already now into what? All these numbers. Another couple billion there at least, right? Shortfalls that existed before the War of Europe. That money is intended to bolster the Army's anti-tank, now it's previous equipment. The purchase would be on a bird. Okay. Finance officials who spoke on Background Tuesday were unable to say how the money will be spent or whether it's intended for an overall recapitalization program in the Army, given the modest size of that investment. It's probably meant to cover equipment for Canadian troops deployed in Latvia as part of the NATO mission to protect the Baltic states from further Russian aggression. So once again, anyways, let me get down to because this is the part, like I say, the budget's defense focus is, however, squarely on Ukraine. The Liberal government sought to deflect criticism of its efforts to support Ukraine by including a chart in the budget documents that shows Canada as the top contributor in terms of financial support on a per capita basis. I didn't agree to any of this, did you? Ukraine has received $5.4 billion in Canadian aid so far, including more than $1 billion in military aid, both direct donations and equipment purchased for the Ukrainian military. So you got to remember, $1 billion of that 5.4 was in military aid. But what else is this money going to? I don't know. We know that pensions was mentioned already. What else is this loan? This 5.4 billion and this loan, what's it for? Will be channeled through the new loan for Ukraine will be channeled through the International Monetary Fund and is intended to help the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky cover its budget shortfall and pay for social services, including health services for the roughly 5.3 million internally displaced people who have been driven from their homes by the war. So here, right there, folks, like I say, and this will be linked in the description of the stream as well. But right there, what it's saying is this money is going to pay for social programs in a fucking foreign country. Where in the, like, once again, there was never, ever any social construct or contract ever drawn up or signed by any of us. We all know that. But let's even give the devil his due and pretend that we somehow did. Do you fucking remember that line item ever being on there where you have to pay, you and your kids, people who are barely scraping by, right, in today's world, right, or just doing well to keep their heads above water, which there are millions and millions of them in this country. But now not only you have to pay for and prop up the own establishment, the ruling class, the connected class, the elites, right? The ones who seek to roll over in your own country, but now you're paying to provide all those social services and pensions, I'll add, for people in fucking Ukraine, in a completely foreign country. Like, what it has to do with us, like I say, but this is what we're stuck with, folks. This is what we're stuck with. Like I say, democracy plus multiculturalism. And that's the thing. Now with the government having the full, I believe MMT is actually the monetary model that we're functioning under now. It's no longer even Keynesian economics, folks. That I'm certain of, because even John Maynard Keynes himself said, that in the good times you get rid of all that fucking debt, right? And all that. That never happened. Never had. Good time, bad time, government just keeps economically enslaving future and successive generations of the unborn to prop up and sustain the current establishment and those who benefit from it now. That's and it's been that way, like I say. Good times are bad. The printing press, even now, there was another article. I don't know if I'm not going to get to it in this, but basically where everything's too big to fail now. Everything. They're basically saying that they will, not just the banks, but individual corporations, even I don't know if it was charities, but basically the message has been sent. The message has been sent, and I heard it loud and clear that everybody, as long as you kiss the ring, as long as you're part and parcel of the establishment, the status quo, everybody gets a bailout. Everybody is too big to fail. And like I say, you don't even have to be in this country to be part of that tribe now. That tribe, that culture, part of that multiculturalism in Canada now consists of you not just paying for all that multiculturalism in your own country or jurisdictions, but for a completely different culture in a country halfway around the world. How you liking them apples, Canada? Anyways, folks, I'm going to tie up this stream because I'm already at 1 hour and 54 minutes. It would have been nice if Stuart had to join the stream, but maybe we'll get him on at another point in time. Suckers volunteered to be a U.S. proxy to fight Russia. Suckers is right. Freedom only matters in another country. Trudeau and Freeland, as they punish freedom-loving Canadians in the trucker. Yeah, yeah, yep. Or sorry, Ukraine. F Ukraine. Right on. Well, this is the thing. Like I got. This is the problem. See, even that's a perfect example, right? You force people to problem up, and look at what you. This is what I mean. Force is always a bad means to an end. You just turn people against each other, and you just got to think: is it because they're? It can no longer the excuse or the justification. It can no longer be ignorance or incompetence, right? Could it be? Could it be? I don't know. I don't think they get that benefit anymore, right? I firmly believe, at least those at the very upper echelons of things, the most advocate supporters of maintaining the system, you just got to know there's malice. There's actual intention behind this. Bad intentions, right? Nah, ignorance, like I say, just doesn't work to be a proper or valid excuse for this. Not anymore. No. Like you could have said this earlier on, and was it Occam's razor or whatever that is? I do tend to believe that most things can be explained by incompetence, but not when you see it at such a level, or at least, like I say, some people have really evil intentions out there, and unfortunately, the mob, right, the democratic mob, the masses, whether they're complicit or just ignorant or unwitting participants, right? At the end of the day, they have the power of numbers to continually, that, what was it, George Orwell, picture a boot stomping on your face forever. Well, the current establishment has one hell of a big boot, and it's a heavy motherfucker. And very few people are even trying to push that weight off, and a lot of them who are bearing down on us. So, anyways, folks, I'll tie this up. I really appreciate you folks for joining the live stream. I'll make sure not just these, but there was probably at least another 10 more articles that I was actually hoping to get to. But as you know, I tend to go on my rants from time to time. It's a good thing these are long form live streams, right? But anyways, all this stuff, lots of great information will be pertained and contained within the link of this description. And I'll definitely be doing another one shortly. See what's going on over on the old Twitter, what's going to shake out over there, and maybe report back on that. Anyways, you folks have yourself a great weekend. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.